My name is Emma Donnelly, and I'm speaking virtually with Mrs. Katie Finnerty on October 16th, 2020. This interview is part of the Catholic Institutions of North Central Florida project with the Samuel Proctor Oral History Program. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Would you please begin by introducing yourself for the recording?
Yes, my name is Kathleen Finnerty. I go by Katie, as I'm known over at St. Pat's. And what else do you want? I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
Is that enough?
Sure. Yes, that's great. It's a great start. How about where are you from and where did you grow up?
Okay, so we started out in Port Chester, New York. I was born in 1935, and I was born to an Irish immigrant mother and Italian immigrant grandparents. So we had a multicultural home, and which was a lot of fun. And in 1949, we moved to Florida. So when we got here, it was a whole new world. It was hot for one thing. And of course, there's no air conditioning or anything like that. And we were living in Orlando, and St. James Catholic Church was the church that we went to there, and we went to the Catholic school there. I had always gone to Catholic school and the church, Catholic church. And when we were really little, living in Port Chester, on one of the streets was an Italian church. So that was Corpus Christi. So we went to the Italian church, where back in that time, the priest would have been talking to the congregation, probably in Italian, because it's largely Italian population. And then we went to St. Mary's, which was more Irish, and that's where I went to school. It was Our Lady of Mercy, and we were taught by, we call it St. Mary's, and we were taught by the nuns who were, the lady, let's see, oh golly, I used to know this now. The Sisters of Mercy, yeah. And we kidded and said, well, Sisters of Mercy, but they were little kids, and they were too merciful sometimes. They were strict, however, they were wonderful. So we were very blessed to have a good Catholic education and able to continue to do that after we moved to Florida. And I know it was a sacrifice for my parents because there was little money, but they made sure we had our Catholic school education. And so I graduated from St. James High School, and probably was one of the last classes to graduate from St. James because they opened up Bishop Moore, and my sister went to Bishop Moore because she was younger than I. So that was our good foundation, yeah. And so, some of the questions that you asked, and I'm thinking about, what it meant to be a Catholic. And of course, that you're taught to care about others and I'm sorry, can we stop for just a minute?
Sure.
Okay, because you know what? I should have warned you this. My brain is no longer functioning well, so I'm going to do the best I can and for you. But anyway, we were, so let me see if I want to make sure that I'm saying this as best I can. So when you asked, the role of Catholicism in your life, well, that was it. We just were. We went to Mass and we went to Catholic school, and it was our guiding light. The choices we made were based on our religion greatly, I think. Yeah.
So what brought you to Gainesville?
So in 2002, my son Dave moved up here with his family, and by then I had grandchildren and I had retired. So I wanted to be near the grandkids, and I loved Gainesville. I thought it was such a nice change from Orlando. So, because Orlando had grown. So when we first got there, there was nothing there. And now it was a big city. So that's what brought me here to Gainesville. And of course, then we had to select our Catholic church. So we went to St. Augustine's. And I say we, meaning my daughter-in-law and my grandchildren, the 3 grandchildren. So we tried out St. Augustine's, and we tried out Holy Faith, and we tried out St. Pat's. And St. Pat's was the winner. So that was the church we settled on. And it was a very good choice. I love St. Pat's. I love the diversity there. I love the warmth and just the spontaneous, wonderful things that they do. Like if it's somebody's special birthday, they play the piano and sing. Yeah. And so, and I love the, our choir there is just wonderful. And then they had the special mass one time with all the different cultures, with their different choirs. I don't know whether or not you were able to go to that function or not, but anyway, it was a very special mass. And so they had the Vietnamese choir and the Korean choir and the Philippine choir, and it was beautiful. So things like that happened at St. Pat's, which makes it such a lovely place to be. Plus that when we first got there, Father Julian, God bless him. So he would keep asking you, this was when we had the little church, and he would keep asking you your name until he knew you. And that's how he was. He was so welcoming. And I was lonely here because I left family and friends behind. Starting over, I was in my 60s, and I had family, but no social life. So fortunately, Patricia Cry started a scripture group. And so I went to that on Sunday mornings before Mass. And through that, I met the most wonderful people. And they became dear friends. And for those that are still living, there are just a few of us left now. That friendship still, it's very special friendship. And I'm going to have to excuse myself for one moment. I've got to get a drink. Of
course.
Sorry, I'll be right back. And if I can write some of these things for you, that would be good too. But I don't know whether or not that's doable.
Sure.
We
would love to have you contribute more in writing as well.
Good, I'll do that because I'm not sure the quality of this is going to be. I'm at the end of life where nothing's so easy anymore.
I can tell you this is a really great interview so far, and it's really great to hear the stories from your perspective and your voice. And I think it will be very important to the project. So I really want to thank you for that. So let's talk a bit, whenever you're ready, about your experience at St. James School in Orlando. Could you just sort of describe what, your educational experience was like there?
Well, the nuns were wonderful. So you got as good a quality education as was possible in Florida at the time. I came from New York, where the standards were very high, and the parochial school always was rated above the public schools. They always did better. So I had a very good foundation up north. And when we got to Florida, not so much. And so luckily I had the good foundation that had finished through 8th grade up there. And it's kind of a culture shock when you move from the north to a place like Florida, because it's like so behind the times, with education back at that time. And may still be today, I don't really know. I'm not sure. So, but that good start definitely gave me what I needed, to be successful. It's amazing how that works out that way. Yeah. But so at St. James, you make new friends. And of course, I was a northerner with the southern kids. Well, most of them were transplanted. I wasn't the only one. But it's a different kind of experience. Luckily, everybody was very welcoming, and so it all turned out just fine.
So how long have you attended St. Patrick's?
So I've been in St. Pat's probably almost 20 years now. Yeah, and I was delighted to be able to be a part of the project because I didn't know whether I qualified, because the folks that I've met at St. Pat's, some of them went to school here. They just, there were some really lovely people. Actually, one I would recommend to you, if her name comes to me, her dad was a doctor here. So she went to school here, and she's just wonderful. But these days, when it comes to me, I'm going to send you that information because you may want to contact her, because she definitely was an old timer. And one of the other ladies that I met, I don't know if you know the Lesters. Frankie Lester was the mom, and they had a business with Lester's Garages. I think it's what it is, fixing garage doors. Anyway, Frankie grew up here. So she was a kid in Gainesville, which was definitely a rare thing to meet. And this other lady, I hope I can think of her name. And the other thing too, when we moved to Orlando, we went, St. James Church was, at that time, it was a little church, but they were building the new cathedral. So it was a big church, and the school and church did not share property. So we had to walk when we went to Mass for special occasions from school. We had to walk a few blocks to get to the church, but it didn't matter. It was nice weather. So, yeah.
Could you please briefly describe the role of St. Patrick's Church in your life? Like sort of the, weekly routine that you have with the church, or a yearly routine? Like what are the sort of services you attend?
Yeah, mainly for me at this time, because I wasn't so young anymore. Well, I was still young because I was 20 years ago, but not really young. So I went make sure I got to Mass every Sunday, and I guess the Sunday Mass was a big thing, and my grandchildren went with me, at least for a while, until they made First Communion, and they all kind of disappeared. So I ended up the Lone Ranger, going to St. Pat's, but my sister goes there also, and my brother-in-law. So it's a huge part of our lives, and I do miss Mass. I miss that very much, and looking forward to the day when I can get back. As my health has deteriorated, I haven't been able to get to Mass as often as I used to going the past year or so. And now I have a walker, so it's not easy. So Father is so kind, and he brings communion to the pew. And I really appreciate that, because like Father Julian used to do that too. Because, I didn't want to fall over and embarrass everybody in church, including myself. Yeah. So
I've heard a few of our narrators speak about Father Julian and his great loving impact on the church and community. Could you speak a bit more about his role and maybe some of your interactions with him?
Yeah, so I made notes here. Oh, I think I told you that Father kept asking our name until you knew who we were. That's how he was. Yeah, he was determined to know everyone. And Father, let me see here. He was just, when I served on Parish Council with Wayne, and my Father is so frugal. He's not wasting anything. And I love that about him, because I appreciate that. I'm sorry, brain freezes. So Father, so I was a secretary, and Father wanted the minutes on one page. Now, you can imagine what that took to condense those minutes down to one page. I became very efficient, and I learned how to make the page bigger by shrinking the margin, so I could successfully give Father the minutes on one page, and that made him happy. So I felt pretty good about that. Yes. Yes, I was a frugal secretary. So it was sort of a condensed version, but it really wasn't. Well, sort of it was, yeah. Yeah, which goes to show in a few words you can cover a lot of territory. You don't have to be too wordy to do that. Yeah. So I'm looking here to see what other, and I did that until I fell and broke my wrist, and then I couldn't do it anymore. So I did it for probably, I think it was 7 years, but maybe 5. I'm not sure. I lost track.
What sorts of projects did you work on with the Parish Council?
So one of the things that Wayne did was he created besides being the secretary, that was an important job. But Wayne was wonderful. He chaired beautifully. And one of the big projects that he did was to create this thing where everybody, and I can't remember what it was called, where everyone would come and all the different ministries were there to, so people could find out more about what they did and volunteer. And at that time I met Jan Bowden. So I signed up for the prayer line with Jan. So she's an advocate for the prayer line. And she does everything. She did the gift shop and she was a minister to the sacraments. So anyway, I met a lot of friends through St. Pat's for sure. But the scripture group was, I think there were about 14 of us, and they became dear friends, everyone. We enjoyed each other's friendship so beyond our time together on Sunday. And that was such a blessing. Yeah. So we still treasure one another, those of us that are left. Yeah, for sure. And I was glad I was the secretary for the Parish Council those years. It was always interesting. And Father just was, he's amazing. Father Julian's just amazing and makes everything good happen in our beautiful church. That was all the sacrifice and good planning. So let me see here if I have any other notes. So let's see. I hope for St. Pat's as it continues to do well. And Father Lawrence, I think, is doing a good job taking over. So, and it's so important to have that wonderful school for the children.
You mentioned, we were talking about important members who you worked with of the Parish Council, and you mentioned someone named Wayne.
Yes, Wayne Wetherington.
I wanted to make sure I got that right.
Yeah, it's Wayne Wetherington, and God bless him now. He's fighting his own battle with Parkinson's, I think, and his wife, Bernie, passed away recently, and I was very sad to hear that. Such good people, and people whose lives have been really tragic in many ways. They lost their daughter when she was a young girl to cancer, and that was just before I had moved here, so I never knew her, but they did so much for the parish, and probably they were completely dedicated to St. Pat's. I'd say he made sure the yard was cleaned, the parish grounds were cleaned, and all those special things. Yeah. And he headed the Parish Council for years.
So another question I have is, how has worship at St. Patrick's Church changed over the years, or has it changed at all?
I don't think it has that much. No, not at all. I think the choir is still the same choir. Joel plays the piano. The only thing that's changed, I think, is that It was a little more spontaneity there before than it is now. Yet I'm not sure why, but anyway, yeah, it's yeah. And Father Bowie used to bring toys, so every child could bring home a toy, and we loved it. We absolutely loved that. And then someone complained about it, so he had to stop doing that. But he still always brought balloon-filled water, water-filled balloons, so the kids could take something home. And I think what an important thing that was, to give the children a sense of joy at Mass, and not just sitting in your seat and, being quiet. Yeah. So I loved what Father Bowie did. And did I tell you I met Father Bowie at a parish council meeting, because he had just arrived. And here comes this biker and walking in on our parish council meeting. And we were just, kind of blown away by the fact our priest was a biker, because he had to wear his, protective clothing. And he was so wonderful. He was so wonderful. I hope that wherever he is, they're appreciating him as much as we did. He brought such joy to our parish. I've got to take a cough drop here because my throat does this thing too. You didn't know if you were getting this kind of a wreck of a person. I can write this stuff for you. Okay.
This has been fantastic. This really has.
I appreciate your kindness. Yeah. Let me see if there's anything that I've left out here that I really want to tell you.
Yes, please.
Okay. Oh, yeah. So when Pope John, did I tell you about Pope John and how I welcomed the changes with Vatican II? Because he blew open the doors of the church. The Mass, when we were kids, the priest's back was to you. The altar was facing the other way. And so God bless Pope John, because of him, the Mass was so much more, you could be part of it. And the priest faced you, and then we had all the lovely kumbaya kind of stuff going on. There's a proper name for that, but at the moment I can't think of it. But it was like a breath of fresh air blew through the church, and I embraced that. How wonderful that was. Yeah. Okay. Let me see if there's anything else here that I really want to. And I was able to have a nice little car, so I'm going to church on Sunday. I'll pick up 2 friends and on their way, and on my way to Mass. So I could be a door greeter. I was a door greeter, and we did the prayer line. Yeah. And the scripture group was really great. Patricia Christ started that, and she did us all such a favor. She did a great job. She passed away a couple years ago now, I think. Yeah, and so one of the things I love about St. Pat's too, and Father Julian, when he made sure the sign out there says, where everyone is welcome. And that to me is the most beautiful thing to be advertising in front of your church. St. Patrick's, where everyone is welcome. I thought that was just fantastic. Really liked it. And when we did the parish council, Father was always open to, your suggestions or ideas too. It wasn't like everything had to go his way, not at all. No, he was there to serve us, and he did it so beautifully. Yeah. So I'd say for choosing St. Pat's was because of its diversity and warmth. Yeah. Okay, was there anything I missed here?
I think I have just a few follow-up questions, but if you have anything else on your list that you'd like to. Okay. Well, I would like to ask, how has the coronavirus pandemic affected worship at St. Patrick's?
Oh gosh, I know. It's one of the problems is I really want to hear the sermon. So my niece was able to show us how to get it. In fact, she sends the mass to us on the Facebook thing, and I can't hear Father's sermon because he wears a mask. And unfortunately, I'm sorry, the mask just interferes with the mic picking up his sermon. So I've tried doing, there's a 10 o'clock mass on Channel 10. So I've tried that. I've tried the EWTN, but I really miss being able to go over to St. Pat's. Yeah, and if I could hear Father's sermon, because it's so important, then I would watch. In fact, I have watched many masses online that way from St. Pat's. But it's so frustrating because I want to know what Father's saying, because his messages are important and good, So maybe we can persuade him to put a hole in his mask so we can hear. I don't know why it does that. It muffles it. Hey, you should try hearing that sometime, and then you'll know what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's pretty frustrating.
I can imagine.
So I'll be glad when I can get back. But, so I did finally have communion here at home, and I'm so grateful to do that. I've avoided it because because my son, Tom, who's 65, has had lung cancer now for about 6 years. And so he's getting an Optivo treatment, which is keeping him alive. And I didn't want to risk bringing someone in, mainly for that. Yeah. But I finally thought, well, my sister keeps telling me it's good and safe. So I did, and I was very glad. Very nice person. Brought communion, and I should know her name and be able to tell you that. But it may come to me and it may not. Oh, Benita Kramer, that's what it was. Yes, very nice. Very nice. And much appreciated. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to, hopefully in my lifetime, getting back to St. Pat's. Yeah.
So I think I just have a couple more questions. One is, how do you think the Gainesville community perceived St. Patrick's Catholic Church when you first joined, and how do you think the community perceives the church now?
Well, I know that Father Julian was great friends with many of the other denominations and all colors. And so when he retired, I found that out because many of the ministers or people from other churches who were from the Black churches too were there for him. It's not that, he never said anything, but I knew that he did walk in the Martin Luther King Day parade every year. He did, or at least if he did that, at least I'm not sure if it was every year, but he did do that. I don't know whether his health would allow that anymore. But, I'm sorry. Could you just ask that again, please?
Sure. I was asking, how do you think the Gainesville community perceived St. Patrick's then and now?
So I don't know if there's any difference, honestly. I really don't. I think that I feel St. Pat's is greatly respected, and largely because of Father Julian, who's, was there for 35 years. So he had an opportunity to be part of the community in a way that, had he been there for a few years, may not have been able to do. So his contribution was significant to the community, I think, knowing the good that St. Pat's could do. Yeah, and I know that St. Pat's supports different things, like at Christmas time, there was the and I never can pronounce the name of it, Taklahatchee or something like that, where they, would make sure that everyone had a gift. So we did that one year. I was part of that one year, and it was a major effort, well done. They did a great job. So yeah, I don't know if there's any difference in St. Pat's now or years ago. Maybe in the Dark Ages, St. Pat's may have been considered an outsider because it's Catholic in a southern place, but because there was great prejudice against Catholics back in the day, and I experienced that when we were my husband was in the service, and we were in Columbus, Mississippi during the terrible time of the 60s, late 50s and 60s. Prejudice was awful. And awful isn't the right word, isn't a strong enough word at all. And I met someone who was not military, a neighbor for a while, and she's told me that had she known I was Catholic, she never would have even been my friend, considered being my friend. But we were friends before she knew I was Catholic, which was very fortunate, because then she could see that, no, we're not some terrible thing here. We are just like you, mom's doing our best. And but it was kind of appalling to realize, at that time, that I think the Catholic population was 2%. So it was very few Catholics in Mississippi. Yeah, so prejudice was real. And certainly, you experience it periodically in life. But that was the most astounding to realize that. I was very glad she knew me as the person I was, and not as a Catholic to be feared. Yeah. Amazing, isn't it?
I think that you touched on this last question a little bit before, but I wanted to reiterate just because I do think it's a very important question, which is, what are your hopes for the future of St. Patrick's Catholic Church?
Oh, I just like to see it thrive. We have our beautiful new church. I love the windows. It's such a joy to be there and just enjoy our beautiful church. So I hope that maybe, and the school, they have a lovely school there for kids. And I know what a good job they're doing. I know that firsthand because my sister's family, one of the children and the extended family is going there because he has special needs and had the most wonderful education opportunities. So he really needed that kind of help. St. Pat's was able to provide that. And some of my grandchildren ended up going to Queen of Peace, the later grandchildren. The older grandchildren went to Mass with me until they made First Communion, and then they disappeared. But I think embracing, when the family embraces Catholicism and you pass it on to the children and they can live their lives that way, it's wonderful. And if they don't, then you still look at the good people they are and their good values, regardless of whether they're church goers or not. But some of them, I have a big family, and so some do and some don't. And it's one of the things that happens, I think, with Catholic people my age group, is that our families, they embrace it or they don't. And so then you have to accept, okay, they're still good people, and church isn't their thing. I'm grateful it's been my thing. And my sisters, we've shared that all these years, and so that's a good thing. Yeah.
Well, we've covered a lot, but is there anything else you would like to add that we haven't discussed today?
Well, probably not. I do. Well, yeah, I think probably at this time, no, but I think what I'm probably will do is share some other thoughts with you that I'll write them, and then you can decide whether or not that would be, you'd want that incorporated into your video.
Well, that sounds great. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk
Emma,
today.
thank you for your patience with this. You didn't realize what you were getting into. I should have warned you that I'm at this stage of life where, nothing is so lovely and smooth now. And I have to be kind to myself and just accept it. It's okay. This is it. Do the best I can with what I've got going here. And it was a pleasure, and I feel very privileged to be a part of this, and hope that whatever I have contributed is helpful in some way.
It certainly is. I feel very honored to have had a role in helping record these stories. I think they're very important to tell. So thank you.
Oh, they are. Yeah. Thank you.
I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too. And I hope all of your future folks have good voices. Don't start joking. God bless you.
You too.
Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you.